This suggestion came in via Justin as well. He's like, you know, you're right. They're both from Ohio. He's like, and I've been thinking about this. Like, screw WrestleMania. Cleveland Brown Stadium has SummerSlam. He's like, why aren't we doing it there? You get the Paul brothers versus the Kelceys. You get all four of them. I kind of like that idea, them wrestling one another, and wrestling is like a production, right? So you could have like them wrestle one another as like a tag team match. You could also pair Travis up with like somebody else, whoever the Junkyard Dog of today is, right? And like whoever the hell that is. And like you could also do that. You could kind of mix and match that, and I don't think that that's a bad idea. Now, the WWE doesn't normally seem to have a problem selling tickets for their big events. I saw a couple of photos the other night of some wrestling matches where it was like there's like maybe 3,000 people in attendance. I think they got some issues going on with some of their shows. I don't know if it was Raw or whatever. It feels like there's some storyline issues in one side of their programming versus the other that people are liking a whole lot more. I don't understand what the difference is. A leg drop's a leg drop, but okay, you guys know more about this stuff than I do. And so there's some of that, but it seems like when it comes to like their things, right, like their pay-per-views and the like, that they never really have a hard time selling tickets for those. And it's usually, let's be honest, they usually do kind of reach out to like the stars of the day, which is not new. I remember being a kid and it was like, oh my God, dude, Mr. T is there? And it was like the coolest thing in the world. We were like running through the living room over that. It was awesome, right? And so like it's all it is. It's entertainment, right? And I've said, say what you want about Vince, and I don't know how much of it is him now. And he has been accused of some awful, awful things, for sure. But early on, there's no debating whether or not Vince McMahon has put his stamp on entertainment. You see his influence everywhere. I've made this argument about Paul and Gene, too, and I'm right about it. You see those three men and their influence on entertainment literally everywhere you look. I mean, you can go back to the first version of the XFL. Remember when he ate me on the back of the jersey? Remember how much we were all laughing about that? There was a camera angle in that, and now the NFL, it's one of their most standard camera angles they use. Like the overhead, the thing, that was an XFL thing. Like, Vinny gets television. I've said this about the former president, Donald Trump. He gets television. And, like, that's the language of this country, or at least it was until we created socials. But, like, you know, TV was the language of this country. And Vinny does understand TV. He totally gets presentation. It's bang for your buck. That's what it is. Nothing's expensive if you enjoy it. That's kind of what Paul and Gene understood, too. Like, if we blow them away, we can charge whatever we want. Nobody will care. They're going to get their money's worth. And once you deliver for people like that, you will create then fanatics. Again, short for fanatic is fan. That's kind of one of the ways you can do that. I actually think the idea of the Pauls and the Kelceys wrestling at SummerSlam is kind of great. Now, of course, closer to the market where I'm at, I may be able to even get myself a ticket to SummerSlam, right, and be able to go see that. And I would like to go see that. It's an event. Much like I've said about bands. Sometimes I'll get asked, hey, man, you want to go to that? And I'll just say yes, because I can do it. I may not even really want to go, but I'm like, all right, like they've hit a certain level. Let me see it. I want to see it live. Can they do it when I'm standing right there? Not that it's about me. It's about all of us standing right? But, like, that's one of those things. And I view huge WWE events the same exact way. If it was convenient for me to go and all of that, I'd be like, hell yeah, man, I want to go see that. I don't necessarily want to sit around and watch it on television. But would I go for the spectacle of it? Absolutely. Much like anybody else. I want to be on Instagram and say I was at the cool thing. Of course I do. Of course I do. I never thought about the idea of the Pauls wrestling the Kelceys. I think what you could do is you could do like a 4-man tag team, right? And you get each one of them with not a wrestler, a WWE superstar. Right, we had to create that, the custodian word for the wrestlers, right? You're not a wrestler, I'm not a stripper, I'm a dancer.
By now, you're asking yourself, is he trying to be wrong?
You incinerating that I'm dumb?
The Stansberry Show.
Around 9:30 this morning, I'm going to get you into the Black Keys, that show in October, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I'll thank all of you who have texted me at 330-450-7625 to remind me, dude, the WWE's fine. It's the other wrestling network, AEW, is suffering some attendance issues. And I saw some social videos the other day of a couple of shows and I'm like, man, there's nobody at that. And I did kind of put all wrestling underneath that umbrella there. I was making the point that the WWE doesn't ever seem to hurt for their like big pay-per-view type shows, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, that kind of thing. And we got into it all because Jason Kelsey has been reportedly has been invited to take part in WrestleMania 40. I feel like that's probably true since it's going to be in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field. That's where Jason Kelsey played his entire careers with the Eagles in Philly. He's one of the most popular guys on social media right now. I mean, the guy was walking through an airport, and people were like, Jason Kelsey walking through the airport, it's a total mood. And I feel like you need to log off and go get some sunlight. But, you know, whatever, fine. It's vibes. Total mood, vibes. Like, I laugh at that this much because my girlfriend talks like that. Like, she doesn't say vibes, but Jennifer will say things have bad juju, whatever the hell that is. Like, right? Like, one time, okay, there's a sushi place we both like, and we both like it. One time we were getting into an argument. Shocker, right? I'm just so easy today. But we were getting into an argument on the way into the restaurant. We sat, we ate, we kind of through our teeth, had the argument, like, I hate you more, right? Like, we were doing all that. And we got done with that. And then we walked out and we had a little bit more of an argument in the parking lot. And then we, like, went our separate ways, and then we had a fight later on that night, right? And so because that fight happened in the parking lot of that place, it's got bad juju. We have not been back since. We both like it. She was like, I'm like, hey, we should go there. No. It's got bad juju. We're not going there. I said, honey, dude, the restaurant's fine. We have the bad juju. You and I. That's a building. Literally, it was a hardware store 2 months ago. Now they sell sushi. It's got nothing to do with the building. It is on you and I, right? So that's why I always laugh at, like, vibes and things like that. But you guys are right. End up, I believe, looking at this a little bit, it was AEW who is suffering some attendance issues. This story, I'm surprised, is not being talked about a little bit more. It may explode a little bit this afternoon, I guess. Maybe it's not a big story because we all don't understand what data is, really. But apparently Facebook gave Netflix all of our private messages. In exchange, what Facebook rather wanted from Netflix is they wanted to know all of our watch history. And apparently Netflix paid them $100 million, and they're doing some ads with one another. So yes, Meta will sell your data. This is the whole TikTok argument, right? Now that one's a little different because of where people feel as if that's being controlled, and I understand that would make that different. If you don't think Mark Zuckerberg's going to sell your data to a foreign agent, you're out of your mind. Like, right? Everybody has the dollar amount. So when you look at this, it says here, Facebook's extended API agreements include so-called inbox API agreement. And that would allow Netflix programmatic access to use your private messages inboxes. In exchange, then, Netflix would provide to Facebook a written report every 2 weeks that shows daily counts of recommendation sends and recipient clicks by interface, initiation, surface, and or implementation. Facebook users, message app, and non-app friends, they'll be able to access that as well. These companies want to know who you are and what makes you click. I know for sure, I've told you only a million times, this company has spent a ton of money figuring out what makes you do what you do. How long is it before you get annoyed with somebody like me before you hit the button? You want to know what it is now? When I got into the business, it was about 9 seconds. We used to call it audio bull riding. It was about 9 seconds. Now, it's all the way down to just under 6. 6 seconds, man. If you don't have it that fast, you're done. They're on to the next thing. These companies want to know what makes you stick where you are. They want to know what makes you, more importantly, what makes you leave where you are. Because that's the bigger thing, right? As long as you're not doing the thing that makes people leave, it's like, all right, I'll just kind of like leave this on. I think the big problem with this story for me is that we don't even seem to care. Like, when I was growing up, and not that things stay the same, and I understand that they won't. But, like, they're watching us, man. And everybody freaked out about that. And everybody was kind of on the same side of it. Like, that's bad. Right? Like, surveilling us for absolutely no reason that you're willing to tell us, that's bad. Right? Somebody watching everything we do, bad. Now, all of a sudden, people are like, eh. And not people, me too. Me too. You read all that. Well, no, you don't. But you get to that point where it's like, hey, here's everything we're doing to your phone. Oh, just scroll all the way to the bottom, click OK, and then just go on. I don't know what Netflix is going to do with your data other than research how to make you happier. But it's obviously worth money. And it can't just be about the fact that because they want to make you watch one day at a time again. Like, it can't be that. It has to be deeper than that. Now, this took off on social media. The X platform is one of those. And the X platform has what's known as community notes. And it's kind of like an editing system for social media. It's not always the best system, but like people will say, hey, this. And then community notes will show up and be like, well, actually, no, it's this. When you add the context, this is what's happening. So what the community notes on this post is that Facebook spokesperson Andy Stone explained that the API to access Facebook users' private messages inboxes allowed Netflix only to send messages, but not to view your messages. Guys, come on. Like, come on. You give somebody the right to play God, they're going to play God. Especially when it's as easy as, I no longer have to pay a human being to read every message. I can just scan it with this computer program and look for the words I'm looking for. Now, I think maybe that's why one of the reasons why people aren't as worried about it, right? Because it doesn't even feel as if it's like somebody is invading your privacy. It's just looking for, did you talk about Netflix's quarterback, right? Or whatever the hell the thing is. And maybe that's why people are okay with it. You know? Every day there's no worry. I want to say I worry, but there is no worry. Privacy is gone. Like, we literally packaged it and sold it off. It is gone. I say this all the time. You don't even expect privacy anymore, right? You just know you're on 11,000 cameras a day. Ring cameras, whatever the hell that is. Everybody's taking a video of everything. This person over there is influencing, and now you're in the back of the shot or whatever the hell. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. Influencers think that they should be able to come up to you and push over your shopping cart or whatever the new cool trend on TikTok is, and now you're part of the joke. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. It is gone. We shipped it off for the cool, shiny thing. And I keep saying this about money. We're going to be sitting here 5 years from now having this conversation about freedom is now gone because we don't use cash or paper money anymore. All of a sudden, did you post this? Yeah, buddy, you don't get to buy plums today. We're going to make sure you end up on the right side of all of these issues by restricting maybe where you go, or maybe what you read, or maybe what you can buy, or what vacation you can take. Your social credit score, buddy, that's how everything's going to go. Like, we've been talking about, Carlin was talking about this in the 90s, and he was right about it. You can see it coming. You were able to see it coming that long ago. And back in the day, by the way, let's take a look at Carlin's the perfect person to be talking about with this, because Republicans and liberals alike loved that guy because they understood. He's kind of right about this. That even my side has got some bad actors in it. Even my side has some people that are not so great and do not have my best interest out for it. We've turned it into my side good, your side bad, and there's not enough Carlins out there. Like, there's not enough people going, but this, and like, but that, and like, this isn't good. And I'm telling you, I think in like 5 years, people are going to be like, dude, I'm going to tell you, man, that Stansbury guy was kind of right about that freedom thing. I kind of miss going county to county. We're not allowed to do that anymore.
He was the most hated man in America. And then Kanye came along. Ah, thanks a lot, Kanye. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
8 a.m. this morning, Paul Pierce absolutely stepped in it while talking about Caitlin Clark. He said the quiet part out loud, and you get in a lot of trouble in today's society for that, so we'll address it coming up at 8. We're going to talk a little freedom now. I like freedom. Big fan of it. Most people would tell you they like freedom. What people don't like is other people having theirs, right? And I've always said freedom is messy because your neighbor has it too. Now, this is out of Denmark, not this country. But I think in short order, you'll be hearing about this here as well. A 28-year-old Dutch woman, Zoraya Terbeek, sorry. She lives in a small village, and she's scheduled to be euthanized in May. Assisted suicide, essentially. She's 28. She says she's in love with her 40-year-old boyfriend, and they live with a couple of their pets. At one time, she was aspiring to be a psychiatrist, but admits has been dealing with mental health struggles throughout her life. And she says now she has decided to be euthanized after her doctors told her, quote, "There's nothing more we can do for you. It's never going to get any better." That according to the Free Press. I'll tell you what's weird about me. I don't have a whole lot of faith in establishment. I don't have a whole lot of faith. Just because you're a doctor doesn't automatically mean like you're the best person ever, right? I don't have a whole lot of faith in things. I'm suspicious the doctor did not tell her that. I could be wrong. That doesn't feel like a doctor to me. Now, different culture, and they may not kid glove it the way we expect everything to be done here. That could be part of that. But apparently, according to this article at the Free Press, she's just one of the people who are deciding to die rather than continue living in the pain. That unlike a terminal illness, they say,
please do.
Quote, more people are deciding to end their lives while suffering from a slew of other mental health problems like depression, anxiety, and those are amplified, they say, by economic uncertainty, climate change, social media, and other issues. Okay, the climate change worry is nuts. Do I believe we negatively affect the planet? Yes, I do. We are destructive people by nature, humans. And so, like, I have no problem believing that. But I have also said a million times, there is absolutely $0 amount you can charge me, tax me, to have it be any different. It's not, they can't fix that. Like, that's not a thing that's like, well, we'll just, duct tape this over here. And like, that's not a thing. There's no taxable amount of money where they're going to reverse that. And I always say, like, what are we saving the planet for? For who? 30 years from now? Are you going to let them enjoy their life? Or are you going to yell at them about the fact that they drive cars, fly in planes, or maybe, I don't know, using water to wash out their ass now, and like whatever the hell? Are you going to tell them they can only shower 3 days a week? Like, people are already suggesting now. Remember, I told you 5 years ago, look at these celebrities. They're talking about how they don't shower every day. I was like, look, they're baiting this hook here. I tried to tell you. So are you going to let them enjoy their life? I don't want to get sidetracked on that because it's an issue I believe in, but like all of the fixes I've heard, all the suggestions, like, like they're not even in the ballpark of sanity. So, like, if that's why you're doing it, I'm sorry, the planet is going to be here longer than you. Are we harming it? Yes. Will it be here longer than you? Yes. Now, somebody's going to be alive on the planet when it goes. I doubt highly it will be you or I. So, like, that one's kind of weird. I find it interesting social media is on this list. That's why a lot of people want to be euthanized because of social media, huh?
Oops, I love you.
Love you.
Do we maybe want to do something about that, or no? Keep sticking our heads in the sand on it, and then 35 years later, when it's way too late to do it, then Tell everybody you can
Oops,
tax
I
me.
need to put this on there.
Yeah, maybe let's just do that. Let's just do that. Let's just stick our head in the sand over it for the next like 50 years, and then go, oh yeah, and then wait for the ads. Were you or one of your family
Oh, my
members harmed
goodness.
by Instagram? Like,
If I will know that I will pass by here.
But okay. The fix for mental health problems like
It's
depression
better
or
to
anxiety
buy
is now
But this is also
euthanasia.
thick for my. I'm
That's
gonna put
insane.
for my
That blown
carrots.
A healthcare ethicist at let me see,
Oh.
the Theological University in Kampen, that in the
I
Netherlands.
love you.
Said, quote, I'm seeing
like to-
euthanasia as some sort of acceptable option brought by the table of physicians, by psychiatrists, when previously
Sit back, I can see.
it was the ultimate last resort. It should be the
Oh, no.
ultimate last resort. I believe in freedom. And if you were really free, the option to kill yourself would totally be on the table. It would, if you were free. And this is something I think you should be able to do that I don't think you should. I've said this about prostitution. People are like, you're a hypocrite. You think prostitution should be legal, but you don't think women should be prostitutes. Yeah, because you're an idiot and you don't understand that's not what hypocrite means. And what I think is that, yes, you should be able to do things I think you should not do. I want you to be able to make choices you want. There are going to be choices I don't think are smart for you to make. I don't think going to see a prostitute is any smarter than being one. I think you should be able to do those things. I want you to make choices you want to make. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with your choices. You know, if you listen to the podcast, you could actually slow it down to where it'll be easier for you to understand if you're still questioning that. I know most of you are not. But you would be surprised how elementary some of my DMs can be. Like, you would be surprised, like, okay, buddy, I'll do the entire show like this for you. You'd be surprised. They say they see the phenomena, especially in people with psychiatric diseases and especially young people with psychiatric disorders, where the healthcare professionals seem to give up on them more easily than they did before. Then that's a problem with that industry. And there is a problem inside that industry. I said this many years ago, and I am right about it.
What the hell?
There are too many life coaches passing themselves off as therapists. They're not the same thing. The biggest life coaching institute where you can go learn how to be a life coach, that woman that runs that, it's the biggest one in the country. She emails me 3 times a week. Are you ready to reconsider yet? I've listened to the pod, Dan. You'd be so good at this. So good at what? Hustling people? Yeah, I'd like to sleep at night, personally. Wait till I get fired, and then I might go on that hustle tip like most people. Like, I might. Who see? I guess we'll see when we get there. I don't like this idea. The euthanasia thing. I am a person who can suffer from some depression. There were plenty of times in my life where if you would have asked me if I wanted to be euthanized, I would have told you yes. You ask me today, and the answer is hell no. I sometimes feel like life is... Artie Lang said once that all life is a list of stuff you don't want to do and then you die. Which is, of course, an exaggeration, but there's some truth in it. And I do kind of view life. I don't really view life as, like, as rich as some other people do. Like, I just don't see it like that. I don't. I think that light went out on me when I was about 3.5 years old at a neighbor's house, probably. And so, like, I think that light just got extinguished. Like, I just don't have that taste for life that a lot of people seem to have. I don't have it. I've got a great life. And I am satisfied. I'm not happy. That's, although, I think that's less true today. I think I'm actually pretty happy. The point is, there were plenty of times in my life where I thought, this is as bad, this is as good as it's ever going to get, and it's really awful, just let me be done. But the truth of the matter is, that wasn't the reality. And there's no coming back from this. There's no like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Like, you know, being a prostitute that you can stop being anytime you choose.
Back to the Stansberry Show.
9:30 this morning, I'll get you into the Black Keys, that show in October, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We had been talking about a young woman, 28 years old, in the Netherlands. She is going to be euthanized in May. Now, this is pretty common over there. Apparently, she is suffering from some mental health issues. Her doctors have told her it's never going to get any better. I'm still suspicious that that's not necessarily true. But they're seeing euthanasia over there as a more acceptable option because people are worried about finances, the economics of the world and the like. Climate change is on the list of things people are worried about. It's like, all right, man, yeah, we negatively affect the planet, for sure we do, but it's going to outlast you. Like, it will. The planet's going to outlast a 28-year-old. I'll say that. I feel very confident in that. And if I'm wrong, by the way, nobody's going to be here to tell me how wrong I was. So, yeah, you know what? I'm digging my heels in on that one. The planet will be here 30 years, right? Or I guess that she could live longer than that. I'm saying it will outlast a 28-year-old, right? She says not going to have a funeral either. She does not have much family. Well, is that maybe why we feel the way we do? Is it a lack of connection? She is dating a man who's 40. She's 28. Does that come down to over the fact that you don't have much family either? Is it maybe that misconnection between that parental and child relationship in your formative years? Is that where maybe it went off the rails? And then since we've been kind of looking for that and we haven't been able to find it anywhere, and so that's what's making us sad? No, right? I'm probably just intolerant and awful, right? No, absolutely. Nothing in her life is what's creating the mental health problems. She just hit the randomizer button and she has them, right? I mean, guys, come on. Like, come on. She says, I'm a little afraid of dying because it's the ultimate unknown. We don't really know what's next, or is there nothing at all? She says that's the scary part. Well, I would imagine if you're so depressed that you want to be taken off the planet, you want there to be nothing on the other side of that, right? Or no, you want the utopia that we think heaven is, although I'm guessing she's not religious if she's going to go this route because, I believe that's one of those things. It's like, hey, man, don't do that, right? Like, I believe that's one of those. Now, the Netherlands, where she lives, was the first country in the world to make assisted suicide legal. That back in February, the 93-year-old Dutch Prime Minister and his wife died hand in hand by euthanasia. Okay, but you're 93. 28 makes it different. I remember I got into the radio business around 24. I think I had just turned 24. And if you would have asked me before I landed what I wanted to do, I would have been like, this place and my whole life. But I got a great life now. Pretending where you're at now and how you feel now is how you're going to feel the rest of your life is, I think, problematic for a word that gets used too much. I think about some of the opinions I had when I was 24 when I started doing this for a living.
Spaghetti sauce is made.
And how I feel about some of those same situations and scenarios now.
Came from here.
I see a lot of them differently.
Oh, that's good.
Because life is different. I changed. My surroundings changed. The people in my life changed. Which makes me happier. I don't know about this particular woman. But guys, take a look around you. We have never, in the history of human beings, been able to do what we want, whenever we want, easier than right now. And yet, people feel more lost, alone, and miserable than ever. This just in. Doing whatever you want, whenever you want, is not the roadmap to happiness. It couldn't be any more clear now. Just look around you. Everybody tells you proudly that they do whatever they want and they're not going to let anybody put an obstacle in my journey. We do whatever we want, whenever the hell it is we want, and we're still unhappy. You know there's another way to say this. You guys kept telling me for years, until you meet somebody, and until you get kids, and until you get this, you're always going to have that restlessness inside of you. You were right. I was doing what I wanted to do. Out drinking every night, whoring, drugging, doing whatever. I'm a happy man. No, I wasn't. I was just making rating bonuses for telling you the stories. That's not the same thing as being happy. It isn't. I know I'm not telling you. You tried to tell me for 20 years. You were right.
Oh, we passed by here.
Doing whatever you want, whenever you want, is a child's mentality. Being an adult is about doing what you should do.
Like we
And I think a lot of people are struggling with that right now.
Passed by in the
Was your
house
mom
of-
mean to you? Relive your childhood while you're 40. And that's kind of what we're doing. And I think it's making people unhappy. I really do. I can't speak for this woman, but I see it all around me every day, and I've seen it in my own life. Is that an oversimplification? Okay, maybe. It's going to be on the list of reasons why people feel a little lost right now. You got more avenues to do what you want, entertain yourself. Those cheap dopamine hits have a price. And your inner peace is that price.
We would have them drug tested, but why waste the money? The Stansberry Show on Rock 1069.
330-450-7625 to send a text to the studio. You can also find me on your socials, The Stansberry Show. And we've been talking about euthanasia because a 28-year-old now is planning to be euthanized this May. I don't know why her story broke out so widely, as you've been able to be euthanized where she lives since 2001 in the Netherlands. In the year of 2022, there were 8,720 euthanasia deaths. That represented 5% of all the country's deaths. It was up about 14% from the year prior. She's 28 years old, and I've been talking about how, like, I worry about that. Like, she's not terminally ill, by the way. Like, I forget not all of you have been along for the entire conversation. Sorry about that. Terminally ill, I see this differently. You want to end your life at that point? I'm really okay with that. When you're telling me there's no physical problem with this young woman at all, she does suffer from mental health struggles, and according to her, she says that the doctors told her it will never get any better. That feels like a defeatist attitude out of a doctor to me. It really does. But I wasn't standing there. I can't tell you for sure. The doctors did not tell her that. They may have. I don't know about that. Now, she does live with her 40-year-old boyfriend. And apparently he's going to be by her side for this. And what will happen is, people ask me, so this is what happens. A doctor will first give her a sedative. They will then follow that with a drug that will stop her heart. And it says here, yes, she claims her boyfriend will be at her side. He's 40, she's 28. The doctor really takes her time, they say. It's not like they walk in and say, lay down, please. Most of the time, it's first a cup of coffee to settle the nerves and create a soft atmosphere. Then she'll ask if I'm ready. I will take my place on the couch. She will once again ask me if I'm sure, and she will start up the procedure and wish me a good journey. In my case, I've asked them and instructed them to tell me to have a nice nap, because I hate when people say, safe journey, I'm not going anywhere. Well, you are, though. Almost. There will not be a funeral. She says she doesn't have much family. I think that's why she's as sad as she is. And she said her boyfriend will scatter her ashes in a nice spot in the woods. They have already picked that out. She is afraid to die a little. She said it's the ultimate unknown. Again, she lives in the country where we first made this legal back in 2001. A lot of people have questions about the boyfriend. This woman wants to end her life over mental health struggles, and is now about to give him a bunch of them. It's selfish. It is. I can spot that. If I have a personality trait that people in my life don't like, it would probably be I'm selfish. I think about me first. I do. I wish I didn't. But I said it to you a different way last week. I said, I'm a radio host first. I care about this first. Then I'm a son. Then I'm a boyfriend. Then I'm all those other things. That's a wild flaw in me. Absolutely. So I look at this as, yeah, I could recognize that behavior because I think I could be guilty of it. To me, it's totally selfish. I don't think I'm the only one who shares that view. I think a lot of people will tell you that suicide is, a lot of people will call it selfish. Other people will call it cowardly. You'll hear it classified a lot of different ways. I do think it's selfish. And I think it's also very short-sighted. There were so many times in my life where I would have told you that's what I wanted. But clearly not. because I didn't. Half-ass, you know what? Yeah, screw it, I already opened the door. Half-ass attempts, maybe. A little cry for help attempt, maybe. Didn't really want to do it. Sad enough, not necessarily really wanting to do that. And sitting here telling you right now, like, I'm so thankful I didn't. I now have everything in my life I wanted. Everything. I could have more money. You want at 28 very rarely will be what you want at 48. You just tell people not to get married at 28? No. And what he's going to feel. Now, again, I just got done telling you I can be selfish. And this may be selfish. I'm leaving her before this happens. You're giving up. Not only on you, on us. And I'm going to have to figure out, once you do this, how I put my best foot forward and live the rest of my life. So I'm going to start that journey right now. Today. You're unhappy? Fine. I'm not going to sit around for another month and watch it. I'm out. Maybe that would jolt her into, what am I doing here? I don't think that's necessarily the reason I would be doing it, but like, it could jolt her into, I shouldn't be doing this. What am I doing? I think that not having a lot of family is part of it. I've said in years past to friends, not on the air so much, but to friends, like, if it weren't for my mom and you gave me the euthanasia option, I mean, maybe. But again, I'm so thankful I didn't do that. So happy I didn't do that. You don't know what tomorrow brings. That's kind of what makes life great and scary at the same time. It can get worse, for sure it can. It could also get a hell of a lot better. I'm curious about the doctor angle too. Right? The clinical approach to the Hippocratic Oath, which includes the promise to abstain from doing harm. The oath reminds clinicians to first consider the possible harm that any intervention might do. Do no harm, right, is how you've heard that. How we have all heard that. How is this not doing harm? How is it not doing that? It's not even a procedure to try to make something better. This is literally us throwing our hands up at the air and saying, screw it. I think in a couple of years, you're going to be hearing about how America needs to do this, though. When you look at her list of reasons, economic state of the world and climate change and the threat over social media, we have all of those concerns here. Some of them warranted, some of them are a little exaggerated, should be a concern, little exaggerated maybe, but we have them all. Look at the way people talk about the money situation now. You don't think 19-year-olds are going to be selling you on the argument that they should be able to kill themselves because the boomers sold their generation out from underneath them? You don't think this conversation's coming to Canton? Yes, it is. Is it going to be next year? Let's hope not. It will be soon, though. If these are good enough reasons to take your life, look for this to be a thing. And by the way, all those people we trust inherently, watch as they line up to tell you how you should be able to do this. And watch them now show up to work every day and help you do this to yourself. And we wonder why people are suspicious about some of the institutions we have in our system. You wonder why people second guess maybe some info that they hear, you know, since all of it was wrong and absolutely nobody's raising their hand now to be like, yeah, you know what? We were a little overboard on that. You wonder why people look at certain industries like, probably not as good as it was when I was a kid.
He's a bad influence. But nobody is stupid enough to take him seriously. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Why did
About
they
an hour
show
from now, I'll get you
the
into the Black Keys.
check that I gave today?
I show at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We have been talking a little euthanasia because a 28-year-old.
I don't know.
in the
It's not
Netherlands
show,
is going to be euthanized in May. I'm not sure
Check
why her
tomorrow.
story broke wide.
Okay.
You've been able to do this in that country since 2001, and back in 2022 they had done, I think, just under 8,800 of the surgeries. But we've been kind of talking about that a little bit. She doesn't have a whole lot of family. I think that's one of the reasons why she is depressed and sad. I could be wrong. I know speculating on that is terrible, especially in this country where people want to be able to have their mental health problems. But if you look at their life and you say, is this why? Is maybe that why? Is maybe this decision this? What are you, intolerant? It's like, oh, so none of your own decisions, none of your life habits, none of that has anything to do with this. It's just press the randomizer button. Got it. There is a little randomizing in it. I don't want anybody walking away thinking I don't think that, because I do, but like, let's be honest, we need to give ourselves a fighting chance as well. But she's 28, going to be euthanized next month. She does have a 40-year-old boyfriend. Almost sounds like she's trying to find that connection with the parental figure who wasn't there, since she doesn't have a whole lot of family, but I bet I'm wrong about that too. And people brought him up. I said, well, what about him? I said, well, yeah, I get that. Like, she's worried about her mental health, but doesn't realize what she's about to do to him, or does not care about it, right? And I said, that is, to me, is selfish. And I'm a selfish person, like, for sure. If I have a personality trait that's not great, and it's not like this would be the only one, I got a few, but I can be a little selfish. I can have a tendency to think about me first, for sure. And Daniel sees it the other way. He's texted this in at 330-450-7625, and you can too. And he says, I think it's selfish that people think the decision for somebody to end their life, that they should consider anybody else. It's their life. It's their choice.
Open here, sweetheart.
That's what makes it hard for me.
We're getting ready to get on the highway.
When you say that, that sounds logical. And what I'm going to say right now will sound very hippie to people.
Oh no, I miss it.
But I think a lot of life is being in service to other people.
I miss it.
And I think through that, more happiness comes.
Yeah.
You ever
It's okay,
hear stories about people who were making $100 million or whatever it was? They quit that to go do something they were passionate about, and they're never happier than they are now. Part of that usually is being in service to other people. I enjoy what I do, and I'm highly compensated for it. But one of the things I really like about it is people will say to me, and I don't talk these kind of subjects all the time, but I talk them often enough, where people will say to me, yo man, thanks for being on that. I think differently about that now. Or you were right, man. I was afraid to tell my wife that, and I shouldn't have been. I went home, we had the conversation, things are great. I love that.
Because this is the last prayer I got.
I view that as me being in service to you. That's very rewarding to me. It's not just the money. That helps. It helps. But it's not just that. I also get to see the benefit of some of the things we talk about here. I've always said it, what Daniel has said here, I've said differently. One of my reasons why I've hated life as long as I did, and one of the reasons I said out loud why, is I didn't get a choice in it. Nobody ran it by me. Nobody ran it by you. It's impossible. Your parents felt a hole in their life, and they filled it with the thing they should. Family, love, community. And then they were happy because you were here. And real purpose knocked on the door then. Now, that's not going to be true for everybody, but it does seem to be true by and large. But I've always kind of hated that. Like, because my parents wanted to have children, now I got to deal with this. I got to deal with credit scores and mortgage payments and whatever the hell else.
Lots of wild animals.
Still feels like a little bit of a small price to pay for what life can give you. And I've already said inside this conversation that I don't have the lust for life that other people seem to have. And when I say that, maybe what I don't have is what you see in the movies when people have it. I guess I don't know how you really feel with your life, you know. But I can understand how you see it that way. But we're having this conversation like regrets aren't part of life. And I know. I have no regret. The woman is 20, so much so that apparently the doctors told her it's never going to get any better. That's attitude out of a scientist to me. I'm sorry. I think I would have maybe went and got a third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinion. By the way, is that a byproduct of their healthcare system? Is it? Maybe it is. Could be. You know what? We got to see everybody in this stuff now, and everybody's going to walk through here with everything now. Dude, I don't have time to deal with this. Yeah, you're right. You know what? It's never going to get any better. Get in the chamber, we'll off you. I'm not saying it is, but let's not pretend it couldn't be a possibility now. A lot of avenues in this one, man. Lots. Like I've said multiple times this morning, I believe you should be able to make decisions. It does not necessarily mean that I think you should make said decisions. We can use prostitution as the example. I think a woman should be able to be a prostitute or a man. I think you should be able to go to a prostitute. I don't think being a prostitute will make you happy, and I don't think frequently seeing prostitutes, I don't think that's going to make you happy either. I like you being able to make your decisions. It doesn't necessarily mean I think you should be making those decisions. A lot of people have a hard time with that distinction. And by a lot of people, I mean those who can't read. Most people understand. It's like, well, yeah, of course. You're not going to agree with what everybody does, but still give them the freedom to do what they want, because that's kind of what gives me the freedom to do what I want. Yeah, would you look at that? Turns out I got a pretty good take on that. Absolutely. I worry about this because it feels like giving up. If you're terminally ill and you want to end your life, I totally get euthanasia. I totally understand it. I do. But when I see the defeatist attitude out of young people today that I had and my generation had when we were your age too. So I'm always telling people nothing's new. The job market was horrific when we were coming into it. I mean, so goddamn bad they were writing movies about it. It was awful. There were no jobs. There was none of this. And dude, the economy was a trash mess. And everything was a mess. None of this stuff is new. You're just the one who's dealing with it at your age now. And you have a communication system that we did not have. We would have known this is how people felt then had we had Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. None of this is new. And if you would have asked a lot of my generation, oh man, boomers today, and now they're all out there telling young people, shut up, you're gonna be fine. And you know why? Because by and large, you will mostly be fine. Don't sell yourself short. The human being is capable of a lot of things, man. A lot of things. And I'm sorry, but the same generation telling me I'm fierce and I'll slay and I do this and I don't care what people think about me, but then also telling me things are so bad that this is your option? Guys, pick a lane in the road already.
You thought Stansbury was a mess on air? Check out the show's Facebook page at Stansbury Show. Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansbury Show. Rock 106.9. We've been talking euthanasia because a 28-year-old in the Netherlands is going to do it in May. People have been doing it there for a while. 2001, they legalized it. Matt says, I feel that if somebody wants the option to end their life, they should have that option, but we should have assisted suicide pods like China, as it would put less stress on the first responders to have to see things that they're accustomed to seeing. Well, the way the Netherlands does it is you go see a physician, and they take care of it there. They don't necessarily get into what they do afterwards and the like. But I'm guessing call the morgue and they come and get you or whatever. She does want to be cremated. Sorry, a little brain fart there. She doesn't want to be buried, and I talked about that the other day with the death thing. That I want to be cremated. I think it's egotistical to be buried in the ground after you're dead. Hey man, we can't house everybody. Well, you know what we should do? Let's put dead bodies in the ground. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. And a lot of people see it differently. Like my girlfriend sees that differently. She likes going to the gravestone and, taking the kids and feeling connected there. That's how she likes to do it. And so I understand it. I'm going to see things differently. A lot of people said, they have her theory that it's like, well, dude, the burial's not for you, the person. It's for your family. Okay. I get it. I still think it's a waste of space. I'll take the ego out of it. I do. I think it's a waste of land that we can't make more of, at least not yet we can. So maybe let's not waste that, doing that. Yeah, maybe not that so much. I'm just not a big fan of it. I did get asked this question, and I apologize. I tried to find this number in the commercial break. I was unable to find it. This is normally where you would hear somebody say, like, Jamie, look this up for me. But I am Joe, and I am Jamie. But somebody wanted to know, speaking on euthanasia, they asked them a couple of times before they want to go through with it. And they do. Apparently, there's a 4-page questionnaire, and then they'll ask you a couple of times. I'd be interested to see the number on how many people end up saying, no, I'm making a mistake, get me out of here. That's interesting. I Googled that a couple of different ways. And I was redirected to bmcmedicine.com, where they talk about some factors associated with requesting and receiving euthanasia. They get into the mortality and follow-back study with a focus on patients. They say here most people have psychiatric disorders, dementia, maybe a mixture of a couple there, and that's mostly what they see is with people opting in here. But I don't see anywhere on like the 5 different pages I looked at with the short amount of time I had. I did not see that number. I would be interested to find that number out too. I keep thinking, I don't know why, but I keep thinking tattoos in my mind, right? You're brave the whole way there. Then you get there, you're in the chair, you're like, you know what, dude, I'm out. Like, this isn't, I don't want to do this. I don't really want to be doing it. I'm willing to bet there's a lot. As a matter of fact, I know there's a lot of that. And my buddy owns a tattoo shop. As a matter of fact, I know a couple of guys that own a couple of different tattoo shops. And I've talked to them about that before. I would be interested to find that number. I have not seen a number that I feel confident in giving you to answer that question. I would be interested to have that answer as you are. Now, I also have taken this, that this person says they're for legal euthanasia, but it should be a long process for approval to help weed out some of the transient emotional states. Yeah, I agree. I've said the same thing about, and I don't really want to open this sticky wicket, but I've said the same thing about gender reassignment surgery. Like, let's be careful here, right? As it used to be, they turned away 96% of the people looking for the surgery because, well, when we put them through psych evals, what they found is it's not really what they were really looking to do, or that they weren't able to make that decision for themselves. That used to be the standard. It's different now, and I'm not necessarily trying to open that door, but I kind of see those things the same way. Emotional, I'm ready to do this, and it's like, are you? Like, because some people maybe. But it doesn't mean just because these 4 people over here were ready to make that decision that everybody is ready to make said decision. And that's kind of what happens in a lot of these conversations now. Through my Googling, though, I did find a couple of other interesting facts here. As apparently all the way back in 2018, there's an article here that said 65% of Americans feel as if a physician should have the right to help you assist the end of your life. Now, what makes that different versus what the Netherlands is doing, most of those people, out of that 65%, they asked them about being terminally ill. And I think it was something like 47% of the 65 said, but we want it to be with terminal illness. Outside of that, it was under 20% of people who were like, you know what, let's let people do this no matter what. I worry about that. I really do. And I get, there's a way to look at it. Like I said, if you're free, there's a way to look at freedom as this is the most freedom thing you can do. Like people will tell you, burning the flag, most freedom thing you can do. It's like, no, dude, taking your own life is the biggest freedom move you have. Doesn't mean it's what you should do, and you should not do it. And I want to underline that as I have a platform, right? And I want to underline it. But if we're talking about freedom, is that a freedom move? The answer is yes. There's no debating that. I think it's a very selfish freedom move. Daniel saw it differently. He texted it. He's like, I think it's selfish to think that people should have to consider other people for what they want. I could understand that thought process. I used to look at it that way. I did. And that really was me in my life was a byproduct over the fact that I felt like my parents were selfish. You wanted children, but you didn't know what I was going to want. And you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what's going to happen to the economy, this or whatever the hell the thing is. And you're putting somebody on this planet where you know for sure nobody but you gives a damn about them. You've seen it every day of your life. Nobody gives a damn about your children but you. And it's been that way for 100 years, if not longer, if not since the beginning of time. And so I used to look at it like, wait, I'm here because you wanted to have something to talk about between the two of you? What the hell's the matter with you? I don't view it that way anymore. And that's where euthanasia outside of terminally ill kind of rubs me the wrong way, if I'm honest. It kind of does, because how you feel today is not necessarily how you are going to feel tomorrow. It's just not. Sometimes sayings are sayings for a reason. Sometimes it's darkest before dawn. And if life is as bad as it can get to where you want to die, what I would tell people is, well, it's not going to get a whole lot worse then, right? Might as well stick around and see what positivity may be coming around the corner, right? I mean, if it's as bad as it is now and you want to die, then it's not going to be, there's no worse feeling than wanting to die, right? Why don't we stick it out a couple of days and see what comes on the other side? You know, kind of like quitting an addiction. You start with one day, you go into the next one, you go into the next one, and before you know it, it's been 11 years since you smoked a cigarette. And if you do that with this, maybe the next thing you know, it's 11 years and you're looking at yourself like, I can't believe I almost did that to myself.
Like Awaken Bait. With an easy pay comment. The Stansberry Show on Rock 1069.
Welcome back to the program. By the end of the hour, I'll get you into the Black Keys, that show in October. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is the place to be Friday night, as a matter of fact, as the women's Final Four heads to town, and you'll have, North Carolina, NC State there, and South Carolina. They'll play at 7, and then it's Connecticut and Iowa. And that's the game most people have their eyes on, although a lot of people think SC, South Carolina, is going to win the title. But Caitlin Clark is, like, the story. And we've been talking about this for a little while now. Like, the ratings of her games are through